Hi friends, welcome to AWS DevOps sessions. In this session, we are going to learn about Docker Stack and Portainer. Here, we are going to learn what is Docker Stack and where we are going to use this Docker Stack, and at the same time, we are going to learn about Portainer as well. First of all, we just need to understand what do we mean by Docker Stack. Here, if my requirement is, if I want to launch a whole software together, I am going to use the Docker Stack. There I'm going to write all the services and launch them together. Just like Docker Compose, if I want to run my application, if I want to run multi-services for an application and all the services are going to run in the single server. That is nothing but a Docker Compose. And Docker Swarm, if I want to run the same services over the multiple containers which are running in the different servers is nothing but Docker Swarm. Here by using the Docker stuff, what I can be able to do, and Docker Stack is nothing but it's a kind of extension to the Docker Compose to manage multi-service application in a Docker Swarm environment. Here, if you think about the Docker Swarm environment, what will happen in the Docker Swarm environment? It is going to manage the cluster level. What do you mean by cluster? As we had already told to you, what do you mean by cluster? Cluster is nothing but a group of servers. If a group of servers comes under one roof, that will be called as a cluster. So Docker Swarm performs at the cluster level. It is going to manage all the resources at the cluster level. Why we are using cluster? In order to achieve high availability and scalability. And let us understand in a brief by understanding the basic difference between the compose and stack. Here, if you think about the Docker Compose, it is a single node. All the services are running inside of the single node only. But coming to Docker Stack, it is a multi-node. Like Docker Swarm, it is a multi-node cluster. And scalability. Here coming to the Docker Compose, it is very limited. It cannot be scalable to the my requirement. But coming to the Docker Stack, based on my requirement, it is going to scalable in order to meet the demand. Here, coming to the Docker Compose, the management is local. But coming to the Docker Stack, it is a centralized. Means from centrally, I can be able to manage the entire environment. This is the basic difference between the Docker Compose and Stack. And multi-service deployments. So as we had already discussed. So if we have the n number of services, if you want to launch all the services together, you are going to use Docker Stack. Here I am going to introduce the Portainer as well. Simply up to now what we had done, how we can be able to create the containers through CLI, command line interface. Whatever the task we had performed over the Docker, up to now we had performed over through command line interface only. But as I don't know how to operate, or as I don't know the commands to create the containers or to create the images, I don't know everything. But I just want to manage the Docker environment. How I can be able to do that? If I have the graphical user interface, then I can be able to do my specific task. So in order to make the graphical user interface and to make the task easier, the Docker Portainer is useful. Generally, it is used in the production environment in order to provide the graphical user interface to the users to maintain the Docker environment. So just now I am going to use the Docker Portainer application to launch it with the help of Docker Stack. What is Docker Stack? To launch a whole application together. Here I am going to select the application as Docker Portainer, and I just want to launch the Portainer as an application. So for that purpose, what I'm going to use? Docker Stack. Here we are going to cover two things. Docker Stack. Along with the Docker Stack, I'm going to cover the Portainer as well. Here the deployment method is Docker Stack. The application which I'm going to deploy is Portainer. Do not confuse guys. Just make it understand. And I'm going to log on into the AWS console in order to deploy the Docker Stack. Simply type AWS, then you will be logged on into the AWS console as I had made earlier login. That's why it will not ask me credentials. It will goes to log on into my account directly. Just click on EC2 dashboard. There check you have any running containers are there. Yes, I have one running. So just click on the instance, and so I am going to create one more instance. The name is Docker Stack. As usual, I am going to use Amazon Linux 2, which is free tier eligible, and at the same time I am going to use the key pair key1 and instance type T2 micro, and the key pair is key1. That's enough. And I am going to use here I am going to use some new security group. Here how I can be able, I am going to show to you create security group, and the name of the security group is Docker Stack, and the description also you can mention the Docker Stack. Fine. So here you are going to allow another inbound rule. By default it is going to allow SSH because of you are going to create the Linux machine now. So here I am going to select all traffic and from anywhere. So right now the machine is going to allow all the traffic from anywhere across the world. So I am going to extend it up to 15. That's okay. And I am going to launch, my requirement is only one instance, launch instance. So it is going to launch the EC2 instance soon. So once the EC2 server has been initiated, I just need to connect. So how I can be able to connect? I am just clicking on the Docker stack. Here, just open the mobile XTerm as it is SSH client in order to connect to the Linux machine which has been created over any cloud. That may be GCP or AWS or Azure. And click on start local terminal, and once the terminal has been opened, change the path where the key pair resides. Here my key pair resides on desktop key pair. Yes, just open the, so right now where I am, so I'm an instance EC2 dashboard. Just click on the Docker stack and click on connect, copy the SH client and go to mobile XTerm, paste here, enter. Then you will be connected. Yes, press enter. Then you will be connected to the server which you had created over the AWS. Once you had been successfully logged on to the mission, just install the Docker service. First of all, I need to log on into mission as a root user. So the command to log in as root user is sudo -i in order to log on as a root user. So once I had logged into root user, in order to install the Docker, the command I need to execute is yum install docker -y. It is going to install the Docker package on your machine. Once the package has been successfully installed, you just need to start the service. The command to start the Docker is systemctl start docker. So I am going to enter the same command, systemctl start docker. It is going to start the Docker service, and once the service has been started, so for my confirmation I am going to check the same whether it is running or not. As currently it is running. So as I already told to you, I am going to create the Docker Swarm cluster in order to deploy my application. Actually I am going to deploy my application with the help of the Docker stack, but in order to achieve high availability and high scalability, I am going to make as a Docker Swarm cluster. So what is the command to initiate the Docker Swarm cluster? Did you know that or not? So in the last session or before of this session, we had discussed about that, how to create Docker Swarm cluster. So I'm going to tell you again. So Docker Swarm init -, advertise -addr. Here what is the IP address of the server? Private. Here we just need to paste the private IP. Here the IP is this only. Okay, Docker swarm init initialize hyphen advertise ADR. It is going to generate the token. So I think there is some issue. Docker swarm init hyphen advertise hyphen addr. So what issue happened? So I'm going to shut down non-zero IP. Okay. So again, okay. Here I am going to enter manually. The IP is manually 172.31.29.86. Yes, the manager token has been generated or not. Yes, suppose if I have any other node with me, if I'm going to execute this command over that particular node, that node will be joined as a worker node to this cluster. But right now I'm not going to add any node as a worker node to this cluster. Simply just leave it by executing this command. Simply leave it. Successfully we have initiated the Docker Swarm cluster. So if you want to check the same, Docker node ls. So as I had entered some wrong command, Docker node ls. Here are you able to see one node, and this is the leader node. Suppose if any other node joined, it is going to join as a worker node. So if you want to check whether any service is running or not, Docker service ls. Here there are no services are running. Fine. So here I need to get the stack file, because of if I want to deploy, if I want to launch whole software together, I need to get the application code. I need to get the application file. So how I will be able to get the file? So I'm going to, we just need to download from internet, as I already provided the link to you in order to download the Portainer application. So copy URL. This is the download link. Just copy it and paste here. Enter. It is going to download the stack YAML file into our server. Just type ll in order to list the same. Had observed it? Portainer stack agent YML. So right now I have the stack file with me. Simply by deploying the stack file, what I will get, my application will be, my entire application will be launched. So how to execute the command? What is the command? So here I'm going to show to you. Docker stack. We are going to deploy stack na stack. Docker stack deploy -c. Here we just need to mention the YAML file. Whatever the file, whatever the services, whatever the things which we had written in the YAML file only. So here this is the stack name. Simply copy it, enter. If anybody asks you by what command you are used to install the to deploy the stack, you just simply tell the answer like this: Docker stack deploy -c YAML stack YAML file and stack name. Enter. It is going to install the Docker stack over the container, means over the server. Here are you able to see? Here it has created Portainer agent. Portainer agent. Here first thing is Portainer agent network. The second thing is Portainer agent, and the third one is Portainer. Here mostly we have Portainer and Portainer agent. Here these two are lightweight containers, and right now the containers are running or not. Up to now I didn't have created any container manually, but if you press here Docker, what is the command to check the containers? To check all the running containers, Docker ps-a. Here if you observe, here we have the two containers which are in the running state. Means my stack file has been successfully deployed and I just need to access it. So here I am going to create one more container. So just type Docker images. So what is the prerequisite in order to create the container? Docker images. Yes, we have these two images, but I just want another image in order to create a container. What is the command? Docker pull Ubuntu. I am going to pull the Ubuntu image. So once I got the Ubuntu image in my server, with the help of the Ubuntu image, I am going to create one more container. So just press Docker images. Just check whether you are getting the Ubuntu image or not. Yes, I got the Ubuntu image in my server. Right now, I am going to create the one more container. So how I will be able to do that? The command is docker run -d. I am going to create container in the detached mode hyphen docker and hyphen name. So I'm going to set the name as container1. Here from which image? Ubuntu. If I execute this command, what will happen? It is going to create a container with the name container1 by using the image Ubuntu, and it is going to create in the detached mode because of I'm not using here interactive terminal. So but for that reason, it is not at all started. So just type that command docker ps-a. Yes, if you want to start the container, simple docker start container1. It is going to start. Fine. Right now it is in the stop state. So right now I had successfully launched the Portainer application over my containers which are running in AWS. So if I want to access the same, how I can be able to access the application? With the help of IP address. So here just check. I am in the Docker stack only. Just copy the public IP, open the new tab and type 9000. Enter. Check, will you be able to access the Portainer application or not? Yes, it is loading. Yes, it is asking me to set the initial admin password. I am going to enter the initial admin password, and so I'm going to configure it. Create user. Oh, something error is went off. So no worries. I'm going to create one again. The both passwords you entered must be same. Otherwise, it is throwing an error. Just create an error user. It is going to create the user. So here, this is the Portainer page, and right now, through graphical user interface, I can be able to manage, monitor my Docker environment. Fine. So where I can be able to maintain, just go the environment related, or just click on here settings. So it is going. So it is going right now. How many nodes I have? Only one node. So the which version I am going to use? The Docker API version. I am going to use the 1.44. How many CPUs I have? One. Total memory I have 1 GB. So in this way, I can be able to see each and everything. So right now I have only one manager. So the manager IP address is, this is the manager IP address. And if I want to check the containers, how many containers are running on my environment? So right now I have the 3 containers. Out of 3 containers, 2 containers related to the Portainer and 1 container which I had created recently. The name of the container is container1. Right now the state of the container is in the executed mode. So generally from command line interface, if I want to start the container, what is the command? Docker start container1. If I execute this command, automatically it is going to start the container. But right now, instead of doing through command line interface, I am going to start the container from graphical user interface. Just click on the container which you want to start. Here it is asking you just start. Had you observed here, the container successfully started. And if you want to check the same here, again if you type docker ps-a, so still it is executed. It will take some time to get it reflected, but ensure it will be started soon. It will take some time to get it reflected, but the things which I can be able to do with the help of the command line interface, I can be able to do with the graphical user interface. The purpose of Portainer is that's it only. So in order to make the task easier for the user, they are going to introduce Docker Portainer. It's not a Portainer, it's a Docker Portainer. It's just a Portainer. And just refresh it. In this way, I can be able to start the container, I can be able to restart the container, I can be able to pass, I can be able to resume, I can be able to remove. So I can be able to see the images, and I can be able to see the networks, I can be able to see the volumes. So everything what I can be able to see the secrets, and I can be able to see the dashboard. So right now I have the one stack, two services and three containers, three images, one volume, six networks, everything I can be able to manage and monitor from the centralized console. That is nothing but Portainer. Hope you guys understood my session. Thank you so much guys for watching my videos, and at the same time please subscribe my channel and do not forget to hit the bell icon, because whenever I had uploaded any kind of new content, immediately you will get a notification. And at the same time please share with your friends as well, whoever is looking to enhance their career in the cloud technologies or DevOps. So that will be really helpful for them. And thank you so much guys for your support and watching my videos. And I will meet up you in the next session with a new topic. Until signing off, thank you, bye bye.